Episode 65, Avengers Endgame Movie Review. Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show. Welcome to the podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Avengers Endgame. I gotta say, this has got to be the movie of the year.
What are you talking about? Movie of 11 years?
For real. Of the decade. The freaking decade. It made, $1.2 billion?
Something like that.
Probably 1.3 by now. It's just unbelievable. This the hype, the marketing.
Yeah.
Before we get too far into the episode, don't worry. If you haven't seen the movie yet, we're going to have this front portion of the episode is going to be spoiler free. So, yeah, calm down. I know you're getting a little anxiety attack. Think we're going to spoil it. Don't worry, we won't. But there will be a spoiler warning after that portion. And then after that, it is free game. It's all on you.
We don't feel bad for you.
Yeah, there's no mercy. We're not holding back after that point.
You're looking for a really creepy voice, and if you miss it, hey, well, it's spoil free.
You can't miss the spoiler warning, trust me. Well, in case you're new to the show, I am Daniel Grove. I'm a local photographer, super nerd, and connoisseur of all things movie. Also on the show with us, we've got Nate Gunn.
Hey.
And pretty much a ditto for him.
Just video side.
Yeah, switch out the photography with videography, and there you go. That's Nate.
Yeah.
We're both super geeks. We started this podcast over a year ago.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I'm so proud of us. But yeah, we started this podcast for a variety of reasons, kind of to rant and rave about the things that we enjoy, that we know others enjoy, and to kind of give a voice to our perspective on things. Not that our perspective is better than yours, but hey, we're the one that started a podcast and you didn't, so you're here listening to us and now you're stuck. And we hope you enjoy it.
We had so many great conversations. I was like, we need to record some of this stuff.
It's true. Yeah, we had so many great, speculative discussions about, all things sci-fi, fantasy, books, movies, technology. It was really Nate's idea.
If nobody listens, at least our kids can hear how nerdy and geeky and weird we were. And when we're all old and alone, we can just listen to old episodes.
You remember back in the day? Podcasting. Okay, enough about us. Let's get on with this episode. So, Nate, we saw the movie together, and it was a great experience.
I think that's becoming a theme where we're seeing movies together.
I like it. It's perfect.
Yeah, until, your wife gets...
Hey, except for that part. Every time I see these movies with Nate, my wife gives me this ugly stare. She's like, oh, you saw another cool movie without me. Great.
Sorry.
This movie was, I kept hearing people saying how emotional it was.
Oh, man.
I was expecting people to be, really posting online, with spoiler free, but just talking about like how awesome that fight was, or that battle scene, or Captain Marvel saved the day, something. But no, they were all just saying how emotional it was, and they're crying, and I'm just like, oh, this is not what I expected. So going into the movie, I was honestly expecting to cry. Like, I don't cry at movies, but I was feeling it. I was like, you know what? This might be the movie.
If you don't cry, you're not human.
Yeah, this might be the one to make me cry. I have had people tell me that, by the way. Like, if you didn't cry in this movie, something's wrong with you.
Thanos cried.
Yeah. Someone pulled that card on me.
But wait, hold on. We didn't break any spoil. He cried in the last movie, okay?
It's okay. Yeah, that's not going to ruin the story if we say he cried. I've also had the reverse. Someone said, oh my gosh, grown men are crying at fictional comic book heroes. Yes. What's wrong with them? I'm like, calm down, dude. Just
grown men are crying because they grew up with this as children and now it's coming into an end.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we've been emotionally invested in the movies for over 10 years. And then if you, like you said, Nate, if you've been in the comic books, even more so, it's not surprising at all that all kinds of people are crying at these movies because these are characters that we've grown to love and think about and pretend to be,
think about it. When we were at the movie theater, not to be any offense to anybody with age, but there was a lot of elderly people there. And I was like, whoa. That's not an offense comment, but that shows you like the dedication.
It's great. There was a straight up old lady in the front row. I mean, she had a walker. I was kind of concerned about her. She didn't look like she was doing too well. She was in that movie theater to watch Endgame, and I was
Yeah, I
like, "You're
mean,
awesome."
the only time I'm sure she enjoyed her time, but if it was in 3D, we probably would have had to carry her out. But it wasn't in 3D, so
Falling over out of her seat. Ah.
Disney's kind of on this thing where they're ending sagas, but
Yep.
kind of the end. You would think, Thanos this, Captain Marvel that, Captain America this, and I didn't see any of that. It's like then I asked people, I'm like, hey, how was it? Like, and they're like, oh, it was so good and emotional, and they're like, yeah. But I was like, okay, no more. I don't want to know. No, don't know more.
I bet Disney is just wringing their hands with money signs in their eyes because, like you said, this is the ending of the Avengers saga. Although technically, if you want to be real technical, Spider-Man, Far From Home, that's the real end of the saga. But this saga is ending, and they purchased Marvel after it started, I guess. So they kind of jumped in late. Disney did.
Yeah, they did the same with Star Wars. I mean, that's been going for 30 plus years now.
That's what I'm saying is they jumped in the money making game with these already established franchises a little bit late, and now they're getting to end them. And not only are they making a crap ton of money off of them, but now they can do whatever they want after this point.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we finished ending all the old stuff. It was great. It was fun. Let's go new directions. Let's make new characters, or let's bring up some less appreciated characters. Maybe get some diversity, some spins on things, and I like that.
Yeah.
I'm really, really hoping, fingers crossed, that there will be an amazing young Avengers, phase in a few years when these kids are a little bit older and maybe developed in some other future movies.
Disney's not playing around.
No, they got big vision. I think I saw somewhere that Brie Larson signed a contract for like 7 more movies.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
6 or 7?
It was
I'm like, holy jeez.
Everybody's like,
Whoa.
yay. And then the other half's like, boo.
Man, that's like the next phase, if you will. And then maybe she'll hand it off to, Monica or something like that. That'll be her end. I don't know, but that's a lot of movies. I don't even know what that at all would be.
Lieutenant Trouble.
Yeah, Lieutenant Trouble, the movie Avengers, Lieutenant Trouble. All right, let's give this a rating. So, out of 0 to 5, how many stones do you give it?
I'll give it a solid, like I always do, like 4.5, because if you go in the movie being like a critic, you're gonna find something you don't like, or they could have done something a little different. So I'll leave that room there because I'm sure when I see it again, I only saw the first trailer and I kind of stopped going in with kind of not knowing where the next step was. I mean, of course I read comics and stuff, but I'll leave that gap because I know eventually I'll go back and be like, wait, what? Why didn't they do? But so good 4.5.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the same, in between a 4 and a 4.5. So a 4.25
is what we average out to us.
Yeah, because we'll get to it later in this episode, but I have some serious criticisms that are not just like little quibble things. Like I think some of them are somewhat substantial, and if they were taken to heart by, say, the writers and other changes were made, I think that the impact and logic could have been a little more solid. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Did you have any predictions that were right?
I really can't. Yes, but I can't say until we get to the spoiler-free area.
True. Yeah, I had honestly, I've been trying to predict Star Wars way more. So I was kind of late on the game to predict this movie, and I was like, that's all right. I'll just not. I love predicting things. I love making speculations.
Yeah, no kidding. Like we'll be in the movies, and he leans over. He's like, "Called it. Oh, I knew it.
Knew it.
Said it."
Where's my money? Where's my bet money?
It's a good thing I don't bet, because goodness.
Yeah, right.
You'd be a rich man.
I don't know. I might be very poor too. Well, yeah, I didn't have too many predictions like kind of made up in my mind. I had one that I really just kind of gathered from an article I read that was a speculative article, and it turned out to be mostly true in a certain way. So, yeah, it was kind of different for me. I'm going in with very little predictions and
Isn't it
expectations.
nice?
And just It's like, is this like what normal life is like?
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to
But
do all for all these movies. People are like, "Have you
your whole
seen the
life.
trailer teaser 1, 2, 3 through
No.
100?" I'm like, "No, I haven't."
Oh my
And
god. All 10 trailers?
I was like, for Aquaman, I watched one trailer and it was like 10 minutes of the movie. I'm like,
That
"Yeah, I
was the
can't do
movie.
this anymore." I was like, I'm not enjoying it. I can't justify spending my $8 to $12 because I just watched half of the movie for free.
Right. All right. Well, gotta ask the big question. Did you cry in this movie?
Yes and no. No, more like that kind of choking feeling you have in your throat, kind of
Yeah,
like
you
it's
choked up.
yeah, but no like tears rolling down the face. But yes, I am a
No.
human. I got sad,
You
but I didn't
monster.
cry. Um,
Man, that woman to our left was definitely
oh,
bawling.
dude, she was sobbing like it was
she
Titanic or
she
something.
lost it. When did she? Like, we can't say when, but yeah, it was
During the
going on for a
movie,
while.
she was like really in it, and then other parts of the movie, she was like really quiet, and then like
She
she was
was
kind of
into
all over
it.
the map. Like I think she was a professional hired like audience member because she was all emotions, and I was like,
Marvel's not
man,
that desperate.
no, but the movie theater might.
Man, I was really into this movie. You probably noticed. I hope I wasn't obnoxious, but there is a scene where I was like I was cheering him on. I try not to
Yeah, you're like,
draw it out.
yeah. I
I
was
was
like,
like,
whoa.
yeah, oh. Like how most guys watch sports and they like fist pump and they yell and stuff. And I
Yeah,
do that to superhero movies. That's
which pretty
me.
much happens to every movie. He's like, yes, and then
Yep.
that's
Especially when
the
I get a prediction right. Then I'm like, double yes. Called it. Yeah, I was really into this. There's so many scenes where it wasn't a prediction I had coming into the theater, but as the movie developed or as a scene was about to happen, I was like, oh, I think I know where it's going, and then boom, it happened, and I was just
And you
like, it
have to
was
hand it
double
to the
impactful
Russo
for me.
brothers to do that for like a consumer like us to and for them to lead us up like that and then go what you want. Like
Mhm.
bravo on directing because goodness, like
Yeah,
they
what
basically
a
were putting in
challenge.
their hands and they're like, here's a gift, and you're like, yes,
Yeah, this must have been one doozy of a script to write. Can you imagine writing this? This story is very complex,
yeah.
and wow, yeah, the way it ties in the other movies was just really incredible.
I mean, a lot of the groundwork was already done through comics and stuff,
True.
so that kind of gave like, hey, this is a storyboard, this is what we're thinking. But I wonder, a lot of people say like the way TV like series are wrote is they
Mhm.
start from the end and work backwards. So I wonder if they did something like
Hopefully.
that, but I don't know.
Yeah, the good shows start at the end.
Oh well, that's true. I'm
Well,
sorry.
okay, I take it back. There's been a few good shows that did start with the end, and they should have, like Lost,
Yeah,
and what other shows? There was Heroes. Heroes turned to crap.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, it happens.
anyway, it happens. All right, so I didn't cry. I thought about getting choked up. Like I almost got choked
You
up at
thought
least
about it,
twice. The thought passed my mind. I was just so enthralled with other elements of the
yeah.
movie experience. I didn't let
And then the
myself go
lady
that
to our
far.
left.
Yeah. Wow. No, she wasn't that bad. There wasn't gnashing of teeth or anything like that, but I understand. I felt for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was two scenes, or the opening scene, and then some stuff near the end. It really got to me, and it got to me, but I didn't get so far to where I just like straight up cried.
I think they
So
did,
I
like
was
I
a
was
little
saying
disappointed.
earlier, they really had us in their hands. Like at the beginning, you kind of get emotional,
Oh
like happy, sad, and in the middle, it's kind of the same. And so
yeah.
it's a well-rounded movie of emotion. So
Hmm.
keeping it spoiler free from start to finish or finish to start, you kind of share this emotion build up for good, bad, sad, happy. So
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, lots of themes. There's so many themes in this movie that we'll get to in a bit. Usually a movie will have one major theme, but like this has so many different sub themes, and I like that. But all right, so when this movie comes out, will you be purchasing this movie and or the entire 22 movie set? Is it 20? You're
that
gonna be
just
22?
sounds like a lot of money.
Oh gosh, I can't imagine. If each one is, approximately $20 worth, that's 20 times say 22,
Yeah.
440 bucks right there.
I mean, let's backdate a little bit. Like, let's go to another
Jeez.
saga. When Star Wars came out and they remastered Blu-ray 1 through 6, I think it was like 60 or $80 just for those 3 movies. So now we're
Oh,
talking about,
that's not bad.
I mean, 6 movies. Now it's like,
I'm thinking this could go between $300 and $500. I don't know. Maybe I'm
It's definitely
Thinking
gonna be
too
a collector's
straightforward.
item, but goodness,
That's going to take a lot of space on your shelf.
no, for sure.
All right, we've reached the point of no return. Past this point of the episode, there will be spoilers. We're going to just open it up and just let everything gush out. Ooh, that sounded juicy. Very messy. So there you go. You've been warned. Okay, I gotta get this off my chest. That first scene that almost made me choke up. No surprises here. Was the scene with Clint or Hawkeye and his family. It's just a perfect day, playing with the kids,
Yeah,
having hot dogs, daddy daughter moments, and all that stuff. And then he turns around and they're gone.
and it's kind of an iconic moment. And we were talking beforehand. That's the first time in the movie that Hawk says the word Hawkeye because,
Yes,
and I was like, whoa.
I
And
noticed that too.
kind of one of those subtle things, but when the family disappears, the thunder happens again. And people will be like, what thunder? If you go back to the Infinity War, when people start disappearing, you can kind of hear rumbling in the background. And then it happens again. And then,
Oh, I did remember that. So yeah, when his family disappeared out on his property, I heard the thunder. I was like, "Are airplanes getting dusted? And people in the airplanes getting dusted, and they're crashing and exploding?" Like I'm thinking of like distant explosions, but I was
yeah,
like, "That's too soon. This is a little. It's just maybe for dramatic effect,
yeah,
or atmospheric. I don't know. Something's going on." But you're right. I do recall the thunder sound. Very
yeah,
cool. So that scene was gut wrenching, and no one knows about the dusting. No one knows
yeah.
what's about to happen, and they've never seen it before. And so every time someone gets dusted, they're totally clueless. And he didn't even see his family disappear, so they're literally just gone out of thin air, and he doesn't know what to expect. It makes it all the more gut wrenching.
Yeah, someone on YouTube before this movie released, they took all the scenes where people disappear and played them all side by side, like a four, like,
Why?
and so you could see everybody disappearing at the same time at the same moment. What was happening in
Oh,
space, Earth, in different areas?
oh, that's what that video was. I was trying to understand what the connection was, but yeah, it was okay.
It's
Makes
kind of
sense.
weird, and like it was like what, and then Thanos sits down and like all hell is breaking loose.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about themes first before we get to talking about all the fun, super cool character cameos and all the and criticism stuff. So themes are a big part in this movie. I would say one of the strongest themes is, at least in the first part of the movie, is the loss and the grieving.
Yeah,
So all the heroes and mankind in general on the earth are, mourning the loss of like, everyone they know.
yeah. I mean, those opening scenes of just city like apocalypse
Yeah.
and boats just adrift, and I'm like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
left
It's
behind
it's
much?
intense. Right? Yeah, it is very rapture-y.
Yeah. And no, that whole scene, I thought of just like what it's gonna be like when Rapture just happens. But
Mhm.
and then they transition in that like therapy circle. Captain
Yeah,
America's hosting it.
and I'm thinking, why are there only 7 people here? Seriously? Like, if word got out that Captain freaking America is doing a grieving class, like, it would be an audience, right?
Yeah, so it's probably
I don't
just
know. That was
some
weird.
friends.
Yeah, that was a really touching scene, and just kinda makes you wonder, like, how would I deal with life if that was me, if I was in that world, you know?
That'd be crazy.
Um, yeah, I thankfully haven't had to deal with the death of anyone super close to me, except for my wife's father, who passed away in 2010. And it's just an experience like no other, you know? You just
Yeah,
can't put words to it. You can't, there's no like perfect fix that someone can come and do for you to make you feel better or to, move you to that next stage of life. You have to do it on your own time. And,
yeah,
and see the big picture things, which we do sort of see somewhat of the solution to the grieving problem. Iron Man, he's grieving people too, but he has kind of moved on. He's moving on with a new
kind of
stage in
off
his
the
life. He's like,
grid.
yeah, he's off the
He
grid.
he said what he was gonna do, and in the beginning of Infinity War, he says, "I just want to go somewhere, and maybe I'll build Pepper a
Oh,
house, and maybe they won't blow that one up, and stuff."
oh,
So he
they did
actually
that.
goes and does it.
Cool. Yeah, so he went and started a family. He's focusing on other important things. And it's not that he's not grieving the loss of other people, but he's doing something with his life to
Yeah,
help him move on. And
yeah. I
other
mean,
people, not so much.
he's been on this role since the last couple movies, and I keep recalling back to Infinity War, but there's so many like Easter eggs in there that he
Mhm.
says, "I had a dream that we had a child, and her name was Morgan," and they
Mhm.
actually go into like the end game, and he has the property and a daughter that named Morgan.
Yep. So we've got a lot of healing and moving on. Captain America, is trying to help other people move on, but he hasn't moved on from his permanent loss of love of his life, Agent Carter.
Yeah, that must suck for him because like he
Yeah,
has past loss, now current loss. He's
he's
just
got
on
double
this.
loss.
Yeah,
I mean, he only got Bucky back from the past. Other than that,
yeah,
he's dealing with the Thanos loss and 1950s, 40s, whatever loss.
yeah, yeah,
He's got double. Yeah. So all the characters we see working through their issues in different ways. Some of them are trying to bear themselves in, Avengers work, like Black Widow. She's kind of, she seems to be like the leader right now of what's left of Shield,
yeah.
which we don't see any Shield agents.
They have that nice hologram scene like they did a couple of movies back where they have different people in different parts of the world like
Hmm.
reporting back.
Yeah, that was a cool scene. So you kind of get a glimpse that hey, they're still holding down the fort, literally, but also globally. We've got people on the lookout in Wakanda. We've got Captain Marvel out in space again, not protecting the Earth. Gosh, come on, Marvel.
Yeah, but her famous line is Earth is not the only place that needs protection because they didn't have people like you.
True, true. And she's the only one that can so easily go out in space and do what she needs to do. So I guess she's off the hook.
Like in that one scene, Rocket says, "Hey, who has not been to space?" And everybody like raises their hand. So it kind of
Yeah.
makes some point.
So we've got potential burnout or being at risk for burnout of doing your thing, which is Black Widow's kind of just doing the rigmarole
And
of
she's falling
protecting, and
apart.
yeah, she's falling apart. She's trying to keep things together, but she's got issues of her own. Who was that guy they mentioned? They mentioned a name that I wasn't familiar with. It was like a failed romance, and she wanted to know where the guy was in Mexico, and Brody's like, "Are you sure?" You remember that?
Yeah, I
I
did.
felt
I
like
was like, "Who's that?"
yeah, there was a
I, I
serious story there that was totally
I do
dropped.
know in like the comics area that Brody and Captain Marvel have like a thing because at the in the actual hologram
Wait.
scene, she says, "Hey, you be careful." He said, "You too." They actually have a fling.
Didn't know
So
that.
I was like, "What?"
All right, another theme that I picked up on was the theme of failure. Thor, he feels like a failure
Oh my
because
goodness, yeah.
he didn't go for the head. It's just pretty much it. He didn't go for the head the first time.
Well,
He had a chance and then he went for the head, but it was too late.
yeah. As we kind of move forward, they do find Thanos, like, and so he goes for the head, and then he just goes. He still feels like a failure, which I mean,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, the whole world was depending on that situation. I mean, I'm sure they don't
Yep.
know it's Thor that caused it,
No.
but yeah, he kind of falls off the deep end fast.
Yeah, that was unexpected dad bod there. That was
Yeah, I
interesting.
wasn't expecting a fat Thor.
Okay, the last major theme that I picked up on was that of sacrifice, which of course is central to Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone made sacrifices, especially Black Widow, but um, Iron Man, he knew that he would die, like if he did the snap, because his little human body couldn't handle the gamma radiation, or whatever.
Well, I mean, that was Doctor Strange's one outcome. And he says, "Hey, you said there was one out of so many chances. What is it?" And Doctor Strange's, "I can't tell you because then it won't happen." And I was
I
like,
love that line.
"Oh,
That was
dang."
so cool. Yeah, that kind of is how like predictions and prophecies and time travel works. Is like if you tell someone what they're gonna do, they're gonna know that they're
And
gonna do it, and
that
they may do
that
it different.
scene was pretty intense when Iron Man rolled up to Thanos and did the switch, and then went to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange looked at Tony and did the one finger, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
snap, that was crazy,
yeah,
dude." No puns
that
intended on what I
was
just said, but
that was
uh,
really cool.
a lot of it was rebuilding and sacrifice, like what you were saying. There was just a lot of regrouping, and in the
Mhm.
process of regrouping, what did you think about the Hulk?
Yeah, moving on to a mixing of the Hulk and Banner. That was
They
interesting.
finally made one, Professor Hulk.
Yeah, one of my friends mentioned they wish they would have shown that on screen, which I kind of
Yeah,
agree. Like I would like to have seen that struggle.
I
How
feel
did that
like a
happen?
movie should be in play for him because that what like we just show up and he's just like a hipster. It's like
Yeah,
what is happening
I,
right now?
I love how he treated the kids. That was so cool.
Yeah, but
He's just so down to earth.
is it not? like a wow moment that the whole universe would not be saved if that mouse didn't roll over that piece of electronic in the van. That the mouse really saved the
Ah,
day.
I just thought that like earlier today. I was like, dude, the mouse is the savior of the universe.
Yeah.
It so is
It-
because he wouldn't have came out, and they would not have time travel.
yeah. And that was I didn't want to
Uh,
say it during the movie to throw it off because I wanted to use that later, but I was like, the
mm,
freaking mouse just saved the day.
dude, they're gonna
And
find that mouse and give him an award.
yeah.
Give him some
Um
cheese, something. That was very convenient for that little mouse to have accidentally pushed that button because,
yeah.
ooh-wee, they'd been in trouble if they didn't. And he comes out. He's been gone for what, 5 years? I think it was.
In the realm it's only been like 5 hours.
That's true. Yeah, for him it was 5 hours. For us it was 5 years. And so he comes out to a whole new world, and everything's just upside down.
That's crazy.
So speaking of characters, let's talk about some of our favorite cameos. So I was super excited to see Pepper Potts as Rescue in her blue iron suit. That was just
And we kind of got a little flash of that when the little girl came out of the tent and was like, "Ha!" And he's like, "Oh, where'd you get that from?" And so I was like, "Yes, she's finally gonna get her suit." I didn't know who
mhm.
though, but it until he said Pepper. But
I wasn't expecting it because I thought I had read somewhere that like the actress had kind of agreed to leave the MCU or something was happening with her. I don't remember what it was, but I was thinking, oh man, now we're never going to see her in a suit like actual fight. So we got her, and I was like, yes, this is great. This is super exciting, and
yeah,
she looked so cool.
and she just came out of nowhere, and I remember you're like,
Mm.
"Yeah," again.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of like what kind of moments, a very small glimpse, and you kind of have to go find the screenshot because you may not see it. But I just so happen to be looking at this part of the screen. How is Howard the Duck there in the fighting
He's
scene?
there
He's there for like a second, but I
with
saw
a
him.
Tommy gun.
Yeah, he's gonna Arnold that moment out. The Schwarzenegger, but yeah, no, it was really a brief. You'll miss it if you blink. Did you hear the little call when Howard Stark got into his car and he's like, "Hey Jarvis, do you know who that is?" I was like, oh, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah, so I had to look that up. I mean, I know Jarvis is the AI, but so the character's name is Edwin Jarvis, and he was a family butler, kind of like Alfred for Batman. So I don't know why Tony decided to name his AI after his after Jarvis. Maybe he had maybe he was mostly raised by Jarvis or something like that. So
Ooh, kind of Batman.
all right, so another cameo. This is actually I'll do a double here. So Jim Starlin and Joe Russo, one of the Russo brothers, was in the meeting with Captain America in the beginning,
Yeah, I was
and
like, "Hey, that's one of the directors." You're like, "Wait, what?"
yeah, yeah. Joe Russo is one of the directors, and then Jim Starlin is the guy who wrote and created Thanos like
Yeah, he's
years
just
ago,
chilling out right there, bald as well.
right? So cool that they got those guys in the scene. That's
Super
pretty
cool.
great. Another cameo was Hank Pym, de-aged, of course, lost a few years
Looks
thanks to
so weird.
CGI. Yeah, it looked pretty good, but yeah. So he was in there, and we saw him in Ant-Man. I still haven't seen Ant-Man and Wasp. Shame on me for not seeing that movie because it seems like it was a cool one. I don't know if they have
Everybody
it
boo him,
de-aged.
boo.
Yeah, I
Just
deserve it.
joking.
It's okay. Let me have it.
It's okay. I haven't seen all
Um,
22 movies either. So like these cameos keep happening, and at the scene where fortunately Iron Man has passed on at the funeral, there's like this random kid in the back, and we're like, who is that guy? At the,
looks like a vampire.
yeah, and he's just standing there by himself solo, and it's Harley Keener, the kid from Iron Man 3, which is also the same kid from the reboot Jurassic World 1 and 2. We both leaned over like, who is that?
Yeah, I'm like, who is this dude? Is he gonna be another Avenger? I don't know what's going on. He could be. He could be. He's on my list of potential young Avenger
I mean,
heroes.
but you remember how smart he was in Iron Man 3, so it's like,
Mm,
could you be the
yeah,
next Iron Man?
yeah. He could turn out to be Iron Lad, who is a comic book
Well, because
boy
you saw how
character.
interested he was in the suit, so
We'll see. And last but not least, this is a non-cameo because there were no Defenders from Netflix original series. I know that would have been totally like broken the fourth wall of the streaming cinematic universe versus the movie cinematic universe. But well, that would have been pretty cool to have seen,
yeah,
like some of those guys.
that fourth wall would have been broken for sure. But
So, in researching this episode, I learned a few interesting things, and also I wanted to bring up a few things for discussion here. So, the first one is that Iron Man's final line. Well, I don't know if it's his very final line, but his big line before he dies, right before he snaps the gauntlet, he says, "I am Iron Man." That was really cool. That was very, wow.
Definitely
Um,
callback.
should have seen it coming. Yeah, it was a perfect callback to his original, the first movie, where he admits to the public that I am Iron Man. That was totally improvised. Isn't that cool?
What? Really? That's crazy. Like that's what
Yeah,
a great callback situation and not
perfect.
even know.
Genius. All right, next thing is you and I both caught this interesting little part of the story. Thanos' double-sided sword. It's got to be made out of vibranium. What do
Yeah,
you
what the
think?
heck? I mean, like there okay, so Captain America again is fighting past Thanos, and everybody knows Captain America's shield does not break, and he is
Impossible.
hitting it and he starts chipping and breaking like if it was nothing, like it no psh. I was like, what is happening? I was like, his sword
Mhm.
is vibranium or something.
It's got to be vibranium or something harder. We don't know if there is anything harder in the MCU that's denser than vibranium. I don't think there is. I'm not sure if Thor's hammer could count. I mean, it's from the heart of a star.
Thanos was really surprising me this one. Um,
Yeah,
he was a
we're
lot
so
more
strong.
gutless and he was a lot more heartless than he was in the Infinity War. But I have one question. In the movie, Thor calls for his hammer in another time bubble, and he totally messes up the time because that Thor would be like, "Where'd my hammer go?" Uh,
Yeah, Thor stole old Thor's hammer. What a jerk.
anyways, moving on back to the brawl scene at the end. Now he has a hammer and he has his axe, which I forgot what they call the name, and they're fighting. So he's throwing, hitting, slicing, throwing, calling, all that, just a lot. And in the process, Thanos reaches out and grabs it. I was like, what? He's not worthy.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah, that
like,
was
I was
interesting.
very confused on that. I was like, how? He's what? I was like, I just it blew
Well,
my mind. And then the only thing
someone
that you can say that is he caught it, but he stopped it.
no, someone said online that Stormbreaker is not a worthy only type of weapon. Sure, he can call it with
Oh,
his powers, but it's not a worthy exclusive like like Mjolnir is. The hammer is worthy only.
I guess that would make sense because in the bar scene on Age of Ultron, they're all trying to lift it, and he says, "Yeah, anybody can lift it if they're worthy." Okay, that makes a
Right.
lot more sense. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
got like kind of a magical aspect to it. Aside from flying through the air and making him fly through the air, but Stormbreaker doesn't have
What a
that
moment between
supposedly.
Thor and Thanos, and like he just throws Thor like nothing, but he gets
Yeah.
Thor in a position that Thanos was in Infinity War, where he's laying on his back and he has the axe pushing into his chest, and he's doing it back to Thor this time. But
Mm,
they've never had that moment yet. Thor is the only one that's actually received the moment from the present Thanos and the past Thanos. He's the only one that's ever done that. I had a prediction. I called it that Captain America scooted the hammer in that bar scene. It squeaked, and I was like, eventually he's gonna grab it and he's gonna throw it.
mhm.
And all of a sudden, the hammer, nice close shot, gets picked up, nice force pull all the way up to his hand, and he has the shield and he has the hammer and he's calling down thunder and he's calling down lightning. He's just messing Thanos up, and I was like, yes.
I love that fight scene. So I feel like this Thanos is way stronger than he should have been.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, oh, wow, what? Why are you so much stronger than your future self? Unless the
mhm.
future self was dealing with like hurt because he killed one of his daughters and tired because he was
Yeah.
running around for everybody.
So in Infinity War, he goes one on one with a number of characters, like the Hulk and Captain America, and it's almost equal. Like you feel like they could just keep on going and kind of be tied. But here, he's totally fighting off all three of the main, most powerful Avengers
Well, like the
with
moment in
almost
Infinity
ease.
War where Star Lord has the moment to kill him, they've all got him, and he can't do nothing about
Yeah,
it. But you have like the three or four most powerful people coming, and he's just like flinging them off like they're bugs. I'm like, whoa.
right. He seemed a little overpowered at that moment during that fight scene. But yeah, that double-sided sword's got to be made out of vibranium because it totally shattered his shield to pieces. And there's some pretty good detailed shots of that sword you can find online. I think that it was made by the Asgardians. There's like a zigzag
Yeah, I can
detail
see
along the
that.
blade. It's still very techno-y, but at the same time, there's a few angles that look Asgardian in, structure style. So possibly in his armor, it looks kind of Asgardian as well. He just takes whatever he can get. All right, last thing I wanted to bring up here was I alluded to it earlier, where I had an acquaintance. I won't say friend because I just met him, but on Facebook, and he was being not so nice. He's basically saying, like, how can grown men cry at a movie that's about fictitious characters? He's like, there's two movies you should cry at: Old Yeller, and I forgot what the other one was. I'm like, okay, old fashioned.
That's how much his opinion mattered to you because you forgot the other one.
Yeah, right. And it was dumb, and I just feel like this guy. Maybe he's not even watched all the movies, but he doesn't understand the fact that people are emotionally invested in these characters. That's the key to any good story. Like, sometimes one novel can do it, but the more emotionally invested you are in any set of characters, the more you care when they die, or the more you anticipate their actions, and it just makes for a better story.
I mean, I still stand with what I said earlier. A lot of these grown men started as children and have basically been following, the old TV shows, comic strips, toys, and now it's just getting better and more realistic and lifelike, and now so far fantasy, and oh my goodness, it's so much. And then for us to start funneling down and taking characters out, it's emotional because they remember playing with those, action figures growing up or watching the, TV shows, or
Yeah.
they were there. Some were all there when it started, or it was a generational thing. Like, my dad introduced me to XYZ, and now XYZ is dying, and I'm really sad now.
Yeah, if you were 10 when you watched Iron Man, you will now be 21.
Yeah.
That's a big life change there. So we've been following this for years and just, attaching to these characters. And then when one dies or one gets hurt or one, makes a bad decision, like, we feel it because,
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing Iron Man 1 the first time, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And, back then I thought, for sure it's just going to be wiped to the side and they're going to recast and we're going to have another guy. But over time, like you said, it's been a decade and a year. Let's just call it a decade to make life easy. And that's a long time. It's like you built this relationship with everybody and now they're just
hmm
leaving and dying and
yeah,
getting old, like
yeah,
Captain America. I wasn't cool with that either. So I was like,
that was crazy.
stab me to the heart and kill Iron Man. And then the whole jump to put all the stones back.
Yeah, it sounds kind of weird, but I was happy for Captain America that he got to do that because think of it, his whole life has been given up as a soldier to benefit, other people's safety. Going back to when he was literally a soldier all the way through becoming Captain America and doing all the Avengers stuff, like his whole life has just been like given up for the defense of mankind. But he finally gets his chance to go and do something for himself for once, right?
Yeah.
Finally gets to live the life that he wants to live. He gets to experience, like he said, some of that life that so and so was talking about. I forgot who he was
So
referencing in the movie.
do you really think that was Chris Evans sitting there, or just another older gentleman?
No, that was definitely Chris Evans. They just did makeup and some CGI
He
on him.
had that old man voice down.
Yeah, yeah. They did a good job tying up a lot of loose ends and really just kind of touching on almost all the movies, not all, but all the major movies.
Those flashback scenes were crazy.
Yeah, but the time travel scenes were cool because they were going back to the scenes that we've already seen, and sometimes from an alternate angle, which I thought was really fun. Like you get to see, that scene with Loki in the Avengers Tower, but from a different perspective,
Yeah. You
from
can see
Tony
Captain
hiding in the
America
background.
and Captain America fight.
Yeah,
He's like, I can do this all day. He's like, yes, I know.
yeah, I know. That was so funny. And then when he got in the elevator, remember I told you I was like, I love this fight scene because I thought they were gonna like replace
Yeah.
the old fight scene because that was such a good fight scene. But then he does Hail Hydra, and I was just like, oh, that was great.
Which that's a callback to like in the comics where he actually switched sides, right?
Yeah, he actually is a bad guy. This whole time, he has been a Hydra agent, just waiting for the moment to strike. In at least one of the comic book lines, I forgot who made it or what the name was, but yeah, Captain America's bad. He's a freaking Nazi.
Yeah. And in other movies like other Avengers and Captain America, whatever, he's Mr. America. And there's other times that Tony and whoever might say language, and he's like language. And this one, he just really didn't care what came out of his mouth. He was like, I'm gonna kill
he,
anybody and everybody in my way.
he said SOB. I was like, oh my goodness. I said language, language. All right, let's get into some of the criticisms, shall we?
We shall.
So I've got a little bitty list here. Got a few things. All right, so my first complaint, and this kind of came from one of my female friends that brought it up, and I sort of agree. She was complaining that the women in the movie are such a backseat character. Now, yes, Gamora saved the day by helping out her sister Nebula. Nebula, the traitor Nebula, she's a big part in the story. But other than that arc there, we just don't see a lot of lady characters doing a whole lot of
I
cool
mean,
stuff.
Captain Marvel came in and just flew through a ship.
That was
That's not
awesome.
enough.
Nah, because she should have done more of that. She's just hanging out in space in some space bar, talking to some space aliens, and like, oh, I need to go save Earth again. Let me just go. I'll be right back.
And
Yeah.
what's crazy is like we were saying, Thanos was pretty solid this one. It looked like Captain Marvel was not doing anything to him. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was looking forward to her laying the beat down, but didn't do too much. All right, my next complaint is about Nebula. So, Nebula, bad Nebula, okay, past/bad Nebula. She somehow gets the Pym particles, which is the key to time travel, and she has them in her hand, and she gives it to Thanos as like a thank you/sacrifice. So they time travel, right, with the ship and Thanos and everything. How the heck did she figure out time travel, especially at the scales that we see them doing, which humans have never done?
See, that's where they've allowed us to kind of fill in the blanks and not really
Uh,
explain. Because in the scene, she gets that tracking device on her, and it
mm,
basically calls her back. And so when she sticks her hand in the computer because she's a robot and basically plugs her hand in, they just kind of say, figure that one out. So
Pepper Potts, she totally let Tony go way too easily. Like I thought she was going to put up a fight and be like, "Hey, it's either family or Avengers. You got to pick your choice." But no, she's just like, "Okay, you can go." I'm like, "He's probably going to die. This is
well,
Thanos."
because she knows him, like throughout many movies, she's like, don't do that. He does it. Don't do this. He does it.
Right?
So he was like, she's like, I'm not really going to fight with you anymore.
And I felt like it was a little out of character for her to just so
It was a
easily
weird
give
role.
up.
Yeah, you're right. It was. It was kind of weird, because we're used to her being the secretary, kind of personal assistant, kind of structure, list.
Mm.
And then slowly they start having romantic, and she's still kind of the same. But she was just like, okay, go do whatever you want. Shoo shoo.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Mhm. Okay, next complaint, and this is one I had at the last movie, is that the Infinity Stones themselves are very inconsistent with how they act. So in previous movies, like in Guardians of the Galaxy, we see them, they have to link hands to absorb the energy of the Power Stone. And it's a very powerful stone. You can, send something flying across a football field if you use it. The Space Stone similarly has a lot of energy. It teleported a Red Skull out of there to another planet. So it's like these gems should not be touched with your bare hands, I feel like, but they are over and over with varying effects. So I don't know. I just don't like that inconsistency. And also, why the heck is the Soul Stone so special? Like, why does it
Because it
get its
has your
own
soul.
planet? And why does it get its own like requirement? Like, what if all the stones had a big requirement you had to do or sacrifice to get it? That would keep a lot of people in check.
And that's where Red Skull is, right?
Yeah, Vormir, which
Yeah.
carries the Soul
Which
Stone.
is crazy because like that's a moment that kind of struck the Avengers is when Hawk went with Black Widow. They didn't know that they had sacrifice. And you said earlier in the
Mhm.
beginning that there was a lot of sacrifice even in the beginning. And then as we move further, it was like sacrifice left and right. Killing Black Widow and them fighting to decide who dies. I was like, what?
That was intense, man. They're like, "No, I'm gonna die. No, I'm gonna
That was
die."
like some real sick moves. Like they were
There
punching,
was.
grappling, exploding arrows.
Oh man, yeah, that was insane. Yeah, the Soul Stone. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like if one person sacrifices someone they love and they get the stone, they use it for whatever the Soul Stone does.
But
We
why can't
barely
they
even
bring them
know.
back?
Yeah, they can't because they die for good. They died. They weren't like dusted or anything like that. They like, actually died. And apparently, that's one of the unspoken rules that somehow Hawkeye knows that you can't bring them back if they die for the Soul Stone. But here's where I'm going with this: someone else can take that stone from you and use it all they want willy nilly, but they don't have to sacrifice anybody.
Yeah, I thought
It's
about that
like the
because
first mouse gets the cheese, but they die, and every the other mouses can get the cheese after that.
see, in Infinity War, they led you to believe that once you get it, it's yours because the only
Mhm.
person that touched it would have been Thanos. And this one, Hawk touches it and then loses it, and it's used through Tony, and the power is trying to go through Thanos. So you're seeing that for all the way from Hawk, Thanos, and then Tony at the end. Like you're
Mhm.
saying, it doesn't really matter who touches it.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, it's weird.
and speaking of stones, I have one like what kind of moment in the scene where they're back in the Avengers tower, Tony's tower, and they're in the lobby and they drop the Tesseract on the ground. And there is Loki. Of course, that's like seems to be his only purpose to go after that thing.
Uh, poor
And
Loki.
it falls right in front of him. He picks it up and disappears. But then how
No
the
one
heck did they
notices
get
anything.
But then, well, I have a question. How the heck did we get that stone? If he disappeared with it, we basically altered a different universe.
Um,
I'm talking about. He disappears in the lobby with it, and then Tony's like, "Oh, yeah, we messed up. We messed up bad." and
yeah, he picks up the case. I think Thor or someone catches him because then Cap has it and goes into the elevator. So they did get the case from him somehow. I just don't remember.
well, because but this cube is gone, and then the current Captain America got the Tesseract like rod looking thing
Yeah, the
when
scepter.
Captain America came and he says, "I found Loki." He has the scepter, and he's like, "I'm not Loki."
Well, that has the stone in it. He uses it on past Captain America
I
to
just
freeze
thought
him.
that was weird because they had the scene where he disappeared with it, and then all of a sudden Captain America had it, and all of a sudden it was on the gauntlet. I was like, "Wait, hold on."
Yeah, I'm forgetting the transfer of hands, but
Thor kind of went on a roller coaster this one. Yeah, he kind
mhm.
of went from Mr. Chisel bodybuilder, girls love
But not so
him
much.
and stuff like that. But he really took it to heart that started drinking beer, got a dad gut, and just kind of never lost it. And he
Mhm.
had it through the entire movie and kept his beard. But I
Yeah.
feel like he never really went back to who Thor was. The Thor, no matter how bad the movies were of Thor, he never
Mhm.
went back to like, the god, the leader, the king, the ruler. He just kind of was
Yeah.
like, eh.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the character was dropped for Thor. I thought he was gonna have a turnaround moment. He'd be like, you know what? I've been hiding, behind my shame or whatever, and I'm done with that. Like I'm gonna be the leader I'm meant to be, and just lightning everywhere, and then boom, he's a hero again. He can keep the body. That's the thing. It's like he doesn't need to change what he looks like. And that's actually a cool aspect. So if anyone ever says, "Oh, that's fat shaming," they're making fun of fat people.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't. It's actually anti-fat shaming because did they require him to lose his belly fat to be an Avenger? No. When he got his superhero costume back from the Asgardian magic, did it suck in his gut and make him skinny again? No. Did he lose his messy hair? No. He stayed who he was on the outside. Um, and they didn't require him to get back in shape, or no one made jokes about, oh, you better clean up that diet now that you're going to come fight Thanos with us in a few weeks. You
And
better start losing
the
weight.
last time
Like, they didn't do that
Thor,
at all.
the last time Thor was on the ship with the Guardians, they were
Mm,
complimenting how strong he was, and he's like, "Well,
yeah.
he's so buff," and he's like, "Well, I'm buff, right?" And so he
Yeah.
gets back on the ship. Like we're saying, he's kind of like giving up. You should be the ruler to the I forget the girl's name, and he's just kind of like, I'm going to move on. I'll be back and forth. And he gets on the ship, and no one says nothing about weight, nothing about his
Yeah.
appearance, nothing about like
I think
his
it's a good thing.
his beach bum hair, kind of nothing. And it's
Big
just all
Lebowski.
it was just all it was just
It's so
all
funny.
humor and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, wow, like that's crazy. And now he's part of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I decided to put that in here that this is actually kind of a anti-fat shaming sort of part of the story. But so that that's just talking about the exterior of him, but the interior is disappointing in this part of the story. Is that I feel like he should have had a big moment, a revelation moment, and a
Especially
return to
with
who
the
he was.
trailer. That trailer made it look like he was pissed. And
Yeah,
then
right.
he cuts the head off of the sick, falling apart Thanos that sacrificed himself. Again, was sacrificed the stones and destroyed them, and then killed the head and just
Mm.
fell apart. Like,
And that was a great scene. That was cool.
yeah, I was like, well, the movie's over.
Finally, they cut the head off. It's really gruesome, I know, but I always say to myself, cut their head off, cut, because that's the only way you can be sure they're never going to come back. Like you shoot someone and oh they're dead. Let's move on to the next level. And then the next movie they come back. Oh, I didn't really die. I recovered. Should have
Well,
cut their head off.
it's kind of funny you're saying people that should move on and die. Um, hold on, like the entire world was blowing up and the war scene when all those missiles were on the ground. How did nobody
Yeah.
die? Like, how
Oh
did no
my
Avenger get
gosh.
hit? I
That
was
was a
like, I
stretch.
understand like the Doctor Strange power of the shield that they put up. That was cool,
Uh,
but that doesn't protect everybody.
no. They're in the conveniently in like the caverns, and I know Hulk was holding up some debris, and Rocket was smashed temporarily. But yeah, that was really far fetched. I mean, there was at least over 100 missiles, space
I
missiles,
mean,
big
it
space missiles.
definitely drew out the moment, especially when they were running with the gauntlet. It was like ultimate football,
I
and
would have liked it if they jumped into like a secret Iron Man vault that goes down below the mountain.
yeah.
You're like that would make sense. They're safe, and they reemerge.
And what a cool moment for Captain America to say Avengers assemble.
A little cheesy on the nose, but you know what?
I
I feel
mean,
it
but
was
it's
necessary.
an iconic saying, you know,
I liked it.
Avengers assemble.
Yeah. Going back to the Stark mansion, whatever, on the cliff, those creepy monsters that they fought in Infinity War, I just call them Thanos' minions. How do they get not only onto the ground, but how do they get in the complex so quickly? Because I feel like Thanos' ship had just came out of the
Are you talking about
time
when they were
thing.
chasing Hawk?
Yeah, they were chasing him, so they
Yeah,
had to get in the
I was like,
building. Where did they
how did
come
they get?
from?
Yeah, I was like, were you just chilling down here? Did you come first? What?
Is
Like,
there a space warp hole? Well, he didn't have the gauntlet, so he couldn't have done a space warp.
no, he didn't.
That was
Like,
past Thanos.
Hawk basically fell and was like, everybody all right, and picked up the gauntlet and took off running because he was getting chased. I thought the
Should have put
same
that
thing.
glove on.
I was like, man, how'd they get down there so quick?
Yeah, where did they
How would they
come
know
from?
he was down there?
There is actually a trailer that was released a few months ago that showed that explosion scene where he shoots the exploding arrows, big kaboom happens, and Hawkeye gets flown through the tunnel along with a few body parts of the aliens, right? So that
Yeah.
little clip was in one of the trailers, but Disney went back and doctored it and they removed the aliens from the explosion because they felt like it was too revealing that Thanos had those minions back and they were at the in the scene. So they removed the alien body parts from the explosion and re-released or did
Yeah,
another trailer.
there was a lot of loopholes, like a lot of like what, and the Russo brothers kind of left this open for your mind to kind of fill in. And I guess it's cool and it's not cool, but like the moment where Tony made like the switch, what the heck, like to his gauntlet, like that wasn't explained, but okay, it's
No,
whatever.
they totally breezed through that. Like, did he just make this magical mechanical gauntlet overnight?
But
That's gonna take
he
some work.
literally went to the gauntlet that was on Thanos' hand that was made from Iron Man, which was hilarious when Rocket was like, "Boo!" He's like, "Sorry, I just wanted to." When they got all the stones on the Iron Man's
Mm-hmm.
gauntlet, but now
Yeah.
the Iron Man gauntlet finally made it back to the past Thanos,
Mm-hmm.
and Iron Man. They all keep trying to pull it off, but this time Iron Man basically gets pushed as a lever, a button, and it all crumbles to his hand where all the gauntlet, like the stones are on his hand. I'm like, wait, they
Yeah, like a
just
little
blew by
nanobots
that
or
one
something.
like it didn't happen.
Little trick. You don't know how it happened, but pretty clever. And then he's got his little baby gauntlet on his Iron Man suit. That was cool. I have a problem with the fact that he was able to make an Infinity Gauntlet out of just whatever that
Yeah, but like, how
metal
would he
is.
know? Like, because Thanos made
How does
his
that work?
gauntlet, and there's no blueprints that we know of
There's only one place that can make the Infinity Gauntlet, and that's that collapsed star forge thing that the Guardians use.
with the
That's
midget,
how
the
me.
giant
Yeah,
midget.
yeah. That's how Mjolnir was made. He made the gauntlet. It's revealed in Infinity War that he threatened him and made him make the gauntlet for him.
Yeah, that's true. And then he
So
salt and
it
he
doesn't.
stuck
Yeah,
his
so
hands
it's in his
together.
Guardian. Right, it's in his Guardian Starforge item. The gauntlet is. So how can Iron Man just make a mechanical cybernetic one? Like it just doesn't
And,
make
and
sense. Like
and at that point in the movie, Thor's no good to anybody, so he can't like get ideas off of him.
all right, two more things from me. I guess this is actually not really a criticism because it was at first and then I realized it. So when everyone started coming back to life, they came through the magic, Doctor Strange portals, right? Like what do they call them? The sling ring, or there's a
Yeah,
name for it. I think it's a sling ring. So they're coming through these sling ring circles, and at first I was like, "Oh, this is cool, a portal." I was like, "Wait, that's a Doctor Strange portal. They're coming from the afterlife through a Doctor Strange portal? That's not how these things work. But then I realized this is where it's not really criticism. I realized that when people were snapped away, they died all over around the world, right? Random places. But when they came back to life, I guess they came back to life where they died. Therefore, people that needed to be on this battlefield were spread all over the world, and somehow the magicians were able to sling ring them in.
Yeah, because when you look at the portals, you can see Wakanda, you can see wherever
Yeah, you can
Doctor
see
Strange,
behind them.
you can see the
Yeah.
planet that Spider-Man drifted away. So at least they didn't mess that up.
Yeah. But I just thought that was kind of cool. Like these people are getting sling ringed in from all over the world to join the fight, and they're willingly coming. And that was a just amazing, amazing scene that I feel is it's like one of the coolest movie scenes I've seen in a long time. Was that whole battle, and then playing gauntlet football.
You know what's crazy is like the one person that had like nothing was Black Panther. He had like no moments. He had a few minutes with the gauntlet.
A
He did the
few.
amazing walk in. He did the Wakanda Forever. He did the chant to get everybody excited, and that was it.
Yeah, he had a kind of a low key point. I remember a few clips of him, but they're saving him for Black Panther 2.
Yeah, it was really cool to see Bucky come out with that machine gun. I was like, yeah.
That was so dumb, but awesome. I was like, really? You're using bullets? Like everyone's using energy blasts and magic and swords, and he's got a gun. That was funny.
Vibranium, though. I'm just joking.
Vibranium bullets. There you go. Problem solved. You can kill anything.
Because the Russo brothers left it open, so we're just going to fill in what we think works.
Yeah, and they'll pay us later.
Yeah.
We'll send them an invoice.
Spoiler, Daniel and I are directing the next movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Be your consultants.
Oh,
for,
wait. So we can't say that. We signed $1 million contract for confidence.
Okay, let's talk about what's coming up next in the MCU, whether on streaming services, which would be Disney Plus, or movies. We do know of a few movies coming out and some TV shows, such as a Loki TV show, a Falcon and Winter Soldier show.
Cool.
Also, there's going to be a Wanda and Vision show, which I'm looking forward to that because I love Vision.
That's so sad. I wanted him to come through.
Yeah.
I forgot he was dead.
I know. Yeah. There's going to be a Hawkeye show and also one called What If. Have you read anything about What If, Nate?
No, when you were asking me that earlier, and when we watched it, I was like, "What if what?"
I haven't been able to find a lot of info, but I did find one thing. They said, "What If is going to be an alternate reality type show for the MCU." So I don't know.
Not dead.
Well, close. In one take, I don't know if it's one episode, one season, or the whole show is based around this What If. Is that Agent Peggy Carter is going to be the super soldier and not Steve Rogers?
What?
That's
so
the
she got the serum instead of him.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Whoa.
So I'm still confused. This is a TV show, so we got seasons and episodes. I don't know if each episode is a what if. Like it's literally just gonna be a one-off alternate universe, and it goes back to normal. I don't know what the setup is, or if the whole show is gonna be based around a bunch of what ifs. That would be fun too. Yeah, pretty cool. So that's what's coming out on streaming shows. As far as movies, we've got Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, freaking finally a Black Widow movie, and of course Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I'm looking forward to.
Which they were saying about the Guardians that it was going to be like a long time until we get to see it, but now looks like they were like, oh well, we actually can't wait that long, so we're gonna have to speed it up a little. I mean, we still gotta wait.
Sorry, James Gunn, we kicked you out and said all these bad things about you, but we need you again.
Yeah, what a moment.
Yeah. So that's what's coming up with shows and movies. Now, I mentioned Young Avengers earlier. I'm not a comic book person, so I'm probably assuming this. So but I think it's safe to assume that there's at least more than one Young Avengers type comic book line where it's no longer 30-plus-year-old adult Avengers. We've got kids
and they did that at the end scene with Tony dying. There was a lot of kids in that funeral, and I was like, what?
Sure were. No comic book franchise is complete without a kid's version of something. We got Superboy, and we've got young Bruce Wayne, all this stuff. We gotta appeal to the kids too. And I feel like the next wave of MCU is really going to be appealing to the preteen age and the teenage age.
Yeah,
because we're going to have a bunch of teenage Avengers, which sounds awesome and terrifying. So some possible individuals that we've already seen on the screen that could be young Avengers is first, we've got Ant-Man's daughter, who openly confessed to her father that I want to be a superhero when I grow up. We've got Hawkeye's daughter, Lila, who looks to be pretty dang good with the bow and arrow already.
And that's the first time that he called her Hawkeye. I was like, oh, snap.
Also, we've got Harley Keener, which is at the funeral scene, like we said earlier, and he is the boy that helped Tony Stark,
Iron
get it.
Man 3.
Yeah, and Iron Man 3, get his feet back under him. And we've seen Monica Rambeau from Captain Marvel movie. Although at this time in 2018 in the cinematic universe, she would be about 30. So not a young Avenger, but hey, maybe she'll be the next like leader. Monica Rambeau, in case you're forgetting or haven't seen Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, which is Carol Danvers' best friend and pilot friend. And in the movie, we see a lot of we see the little girl Monica being very interested and absorbed in Captain Marvel, wanting to be a superhero,
Talking about
possibly.
building a spaceship, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think she'll be the next Captain Marvel, maybe
Yeah.
Miss Marvel, or
Ooh.
not sure how she names herself. But so she's a possible candidate for a young Avenger. Also, we've got Morgan Stark, who at this time is really only like
Yeah.
3 years old, 4 years old. Yeah, well, she could be a really young, like a preteen Iron Girl. That'd be really cool. And lastly, we've got Miles Morales as a Spider-Man replacement for the new generation.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But one thing's for sure, Marvel's gonna make way too much money.
Yeah. So to sum it all up, what'd you think about Endgame? Just in a nutshell.
Man, I can't wait to see it again and again. It was beautiful. It was emotional. It was a masterpiece of storytelling, which is not to say that it was perfect because I just said all my complaints, but they did their best, and it was still, I feel, in some ways, a masterpiece
It was
of
the movie we've
history.
all been waiting to see.
Man, during that last fight scene when they're blowing up the big ships and stuff, fighting back, I thought to myself, this is what a superhero movie is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was just perfect. So, how about you?
Yeah, I
What's your
still
closing
stand by it.
thoughts?
Still 4.5. But man, even though it's the end of a saga and a stepping stone for the beginning of the new MCU phases, but I mean, it was amazing. And like I said, it's the movie we've all been waiting to see for a decade. And so, uh, yeah, it's just wow. And I can't wait to own every single one of them.
Well, to anyone out there listening, you probably very strongly disagree with some of the stuff that I had to say or Nate said, and that's okay. We would love to hear back from you, whether you agree or disagree. We'd love to get some interaction and discussions going on our social media accounts, so you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. Our episodes will be on YouTube as well, but we like to keep our discussions on Facebook because it's just a little bit of a better platform for back and forth talking and writing and things like that. So, yeah, go over to our Facebook, comment on this post for this episode, and let's talk. Okay, well, thanks again for listening, and we'll be with you next week. If you like this show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, you can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and have a great week. Hold on. My wife has her YouTube way too loud. Hold on.
Rooting everything.
I stick my head out the door, and she's giggling at her computer, watching this video that some guy sing awfully, really, really loud in public spaces. You know what I'm talking about? You seen that Asian guy? So
It's
dumb.
like-
Why does this guy do this?